Hey guys, welcome back to the Tac City YouTube channel. It's Kevin here again. As you guys can see on the desk here, this is a Crytac receiver. I'm going to set that down real quick, but welcome back. This is what we're going to be working on today. I'm going to be showing you guys how to put a handguard onto your Crytac or otherwise M4 upper receiver. Right. Today we're actually mounting one of these Troy TRX rails. We actually carry these at Tac City. So these are going to be about $110 before or after tax, give or take. We got the 7-inch and the 9-inch styles in stock, but today I'm going to be dropping this onto this Crytac receiver. The reason I'm doing a YouTube video today, if you guys are actually curious, is because YouTube has kind of revoked our live streaming privileges. I guess they do not like Airsoft. Anyways, with this Crytac replica, like any other Airsoft replica, once you get your handguard off, every gun's going to come off different. In the case of this one, if I actually reach over, this is the original Crytac handguard, and on these there is two nuts right here at the bottom. You're going to undo those and this will slide right off. Right. On most modern day AEGs, for removing a handguard, that's generically how it's going to work if it has a free float handguard. If it doesn't, then you have to get the delta ring and everything like that off. There's plenty of YouTube videos out there covering that topic of getting the delta ring or any style handguard, getting down at least to the barrel nut. There's tons of videos out there on that. But once you get down to this point, it really shouldn't be that difficult to get down to your barrel nut. Once you're down to this point, generally a mistake I see a lot of people make is they just have their upper, and then in this case, they have whatever tool, it could be an AR wrench. 9 times out of 10 actually, it is probably going to be an AR wrench. I would recommend a good quality AR wrench to remove a barrel nut. These things are torqued on there. You do not want to be using cheap tools that are going to break or slip and possibly damage your replica or hurt you. But in this case, we're using a wrench, and the mistake I see people making is they have just the upper receiver with the hop-up unit removed, which is what you're supposed to do, and they're trying to remove this barrel nut with just the upper in their hands or in a vise or something like that. Now, generally, sometimes that will work if you get lucky. Generally, I recommend at least putting it on your lower receiver and then putting the body pin in. That way you have more leverage, right? You're not just flexing on the upper. You actually have a receiver and a lower. You kind of have more leverage to get onto this barrel nut. I know tougher ones are going to be like the VFC Avalon barrel nuts. I've had to take a few of those off in my years of playing, and honestly, VFC, I don't know what you guys put on your barrel nuts, but relax, bro, because you got to break your arm damn near every time you do a VFC handguard swap and take one of those barrel nuts off. I don't know if it's just with certain models or maybe it's just me, but VFC barrel nuts have always been super tight. However, on this Crytac, that's not the case. This one actually has divots for a wrench, so I went ahead and actually got it in there like so and loosened it already. Like I said, I'm going to show you guys how to put a aftermarket one on properly. But once you've undone this barrel nut, it pretty much just comes all apart like so. And from there, you can actually swap your outer barrel if you like. If you're looking for a different length or threads, anything like that. In this case, we're just swapping the handguard, so we're not going to do any of that. I'm going to put this outer barrel back in the way it goes, right? Your outer barrel is really only going to line up a certain way with these lugs right here on the upper receiver. So just pay attention to that when you pull it out. Outside of that, we're going to go ahead and grab our TRX rail here. Very nice rail. And I'm going to go ahead and find the correct size Allen key to fit this. So the cool thing about these Mad Bull rails, these Troy TRX rails or the Mad Bull VTAX Vikings, they actually come with one of these barrel nuts. These are actually fairly simple. I'll hold that up to the camera really quick. Right. So you're going to need a AR wrench to properly torque this down or remove it in the future, either or. But these cutouts are made for an AR wrench. Generically, what you're going to do is reverse everything you just did on these. The pointy side of it, I guess, is the easy way to say it. For you viewers, goes out. So you're just going to drop that on. In certain cases, when I actually tighten this all the way down, you guys might see fitment issues between the outer barrel and the aftermarket barrel nut. And if that does happen, you will have to go on your local airsoft retailer's website and grab yourself some barrel washers to space it out and make the fitment proper. We're actually just checking out the threads right now on this rail. Okay. Crytac receiver threads are kind of sketchy sometimes, but now that we've got that down, I can tell there's no wobble between the barrel nut and the outer barrel, so I know I don't need barrel washers. Now if you have wobble, essentially you're going to add your barrel washers that they sell. It's like a shim set for your outer barrel. You're going to add that between this barrel nut and your outer barrel right here where my fingers are. There's a little ledge. Those barrel washers will sit on there and create pressure against the barrel nut when you're tightening it down. That way you get the proper fitment. Otherwise you're going to have, you see that wobble right there? This is obviously not tightened all the way down. But you see how there's that ever so slight bit of wobble on the outer barrel. Yeah, you want to eliminate that as much as possible. So if you do need barrel washers, like I said, go hit up Evike or your local retailer. I know Prometheus or Laylax, they make a set of barrel washers that is fairly decent for a fair price. Anyways, once you have your said barrel nut on, you're going to grab an 8R wrench. So this one is cut for a AR wrench of this stature. We're just going to get this lined up with it and torque it down. Just like that, I'm torquing it down. Once I feel that it has enough torque, my rail's not going to come loose while I'm playing, I'm going to actually take my handguard and slide it over. Now from this point, actually, I do want to mention, you can add a gas block if you want, a mock gas block. Some people like having it in their guns, right? For me, I'm a function over form kind of guy. If I don't need it on my gun, I'm not really going to stress about it, but I do have the original gas tube here. This is just a mock gas tube. What this can help with is actually keeping your outer barrel centered. Like I mentioned earlier, if you have tolerance issues between the barrel nut and the outer barrel and you have some wobble, this mock gas tube can actually kind of help keep your barrel, your outer barrel at least, straight if it's a free float rail. In this case, I actually don't need it, but I'm going to actually see if it'll fit and work with this rail either way, regardless, just because. Okay, so yeah, we're not going to want to use the gas block with this rail. It does not look like this rail is actually cut for that gas block. So with the VTAX or the Troy Mad Bull rails, it's very easy. Once you have this on, it just slips over. There's a little tab on this side to make sure you don't reverse, like twist your rail off. But you just line it up with the middle. It's not always perfect on the first try. There we go. Right? Just clicks into place. Just like that. And like I said, there's that tab right here where my thumb is. That's really neat feature. A lot of rails include that just so your rail actually doesn't like reverse itself somehow. or over tighten or move around when you're playing, because we can be pretty rough on our guns. I have had rails come undone on me before. It's not a good time. So, but once we're done there, we're just going to tighten these 2 screws on the rail down. Essentially, if you have another brand handguard, you would put it on and then just tighten down or lock down whatever mechanism it is that keeps that attached to your barrel nut on the inside, and that is pretty much it. Boom. Your rail is now installed. You're free to put your hop up and inner barrel back inside the gun and call it a day. But that's how you install a rail on a M4 upper. This will apply to Lancer, G&G, VFC, most TM spec AEG rifles, with the exception of maybe a few. G&P, one thing you do want to note, for G&P receivers, the threading on them, I believe, is still different. When you buy a rail from, say, like Evike or any airsoft retailer, Mad Bull specifically, it does a really good job of making G&P threaded barrel nuts for their rails. So like the Noveski NSR rails, you can get either a TM spec or a G&P spec barrel nut, right? Because the G&P threading on the receiver is actually going to be different for their replicas. So just one last thing there to keep in mind. But other than that, I really hope you guys have a good day. Thanks for joining the video again and watching through. If you did watch through, please leave a comment with topics, questions, anything you guys want to see on here on the channel for our tech department. Other than that, if you guys have any questions, please email us at tackcitydtech@tackcityairsoft.com, or you can give us a call during field hours 7 days a week and ask for the tech department. We have a tech here 7 days a week. All right, see you guys later.